She never once used a word I'd call impressive.
And she scored higher than the man who used plethora 3 times.
She scored higher because she didn't.
Hey everyone, welcome to the band score breakdown from IELTS Karo. I'm Adam.
And I'm Zara, assessing IELTS speaking. Every episode, one real answer, 4 criteria, 1 honest score.
Today, part 2, the most common cue card that nobody prepares for. Describe a place you visited. Here's the candidate's answer.
I want to talk about a trip I took to Hunza, which is in the far north of Pakistan. I'd been meaning to go for years, honestly, and I kept putting it off because it's a long drive and I always had some excuse. Last October, I finally went. I traveled with my younger sister and 2 of her university friends, which I'll admit was not my plan. I'd imagined going alone, some quiet, thoughtful trip where I'd sit by a lake and figure my life out. Instead, I got 3 20-year-olds who wanted to play music the whole way up. And it turned out to be much better than the trip I'd planned. We didn't do anything dramatic. We walked a lot. There's a viewpoint called Eagle's Nest, and we got up at 4 in the morning to reach it before sunrise. But when the light hit Rakaposhi, that's the mountain you can see from there, nobody said anything for about 10 minutes. 4 people, completely silent. That doesn't happen often. The rest was ordinary. We ate too much apricot and even got lost twice. In another incident, my sister argued with a shopkeeper about the price of a shawl and lost, badly. Would I visit again? Oh, absolutely. I just can't wait to get back there, this time with my husband and kids.
She talked about a trip to Hunza, a region in northern Pakistan. And what stood out wasn't just the place she described, but the way she described it. She mentioned going with her younger sister and her sister's friends, how she'd planned a quiet, reflective trip, but ended up with something completely different and better.
And it's the little details that made her answer so compelling, like getting up at 4 in the morning to see the sunrise from a viewpoint called Eagle's Nest, and how they were all silent for 10 minutes when the light hit the mountain. That kind of detail, it's not something you can rehearse. It's something you remember.
Let's break this down, starting with lexical resource. This candidate scored an 8, which is impressive. But here's the kicker. Her hardest word was dramatic. How is that even possible?
It's all about how she used language, not the words themselves. Let's talk about the IELTS Band-Aid descriptor. It doesn't say, use uncommon words. It says, skillfully uses uncommon lexical items. And that includes collocations, idiomatic expressions, and phrases that feel natural and precise.
Like when she said, I kept putting it off. There's nothing flashy about this phrase, but they're exactly what a native speaker might say in that context. And here's the thing, they're not the kind of phrases you'd find in a phrase book or a vocabulary list.
Zara, you're a smart observer. And then there's the sentence about the sunrise. But when the light hit Rakaposhi, that's the mountain you can see from there. Nobody said anything for about 10 minutes. Every single word in that sentence is simple, but the way they're put together is so natural and evocative.
Compare that to someone who might say, the sunrise was a breathtaking and awe-inspiring experience. Technically correct, sure, but it's generic. It doesn't tell me anything about the person or the moment.
That's such a key distinction, and it ties into the next criterion, grammatical range and accuracy. The candidate scored another 8 here, and again, it wasn't because she was trying to show off her grammar, it's because she was using it to communicate meaning.
Right, so when you're actually remembering something, your grammar gets more complex naturally. You need a past perfect to show that one thing happened before another. You need conditionals to talk about hypothetical situations. This candidate used both without even realizing it.
And that's the beauty of it. She wasn't thinking, oh, I need to use a past perfect here to impress the examiner. She was thinking, how do I explain this moment accurately? And the grammar followed.
There's also the self-repair moment where she interrupts herself to explain what Rakaposhi is. That's another thing candidates are often afraid of because they think it makes them sound less fluent. But Zara argued the opposite. She said it shows audience awareness, which is actually a mark of fluency.
Speaking of fluency, let's talk about her score there. She got an 8 for fluency and coherence, even though she used what some might call fillers, like honestly and I'll admit.
But those aren't fillers in the traditional sense. They're discourse markers, and they serve a purpose. Honestly signals that she's sharing her true feelings. I'll admit sets up a contrast between what she initially planned and what actually happened. They're not buying her time. They're guiding the listener through her story.
And her story was structured, even if it didn't seem like it at first glance. She answered every bullet point on the cue card, where she went, who she went with, what she did, and whether she'd go back. She just didn't announce them with phrases like, moving on to the second point.
Which makes you sound like a PowerPoint presentation. And that's not what the IELTS speaking test is about. It's about natural, coherent speech. So, where did she lose points? Her pronunciation score was a 7, which brought her overall band down to an 8. And it wasn't because of her accent. I was very clear about that. Accents don't cost you points. What did cost her was her intonation. When she described the silence at the mountain, her voice stayed neutral when it should have risen and fallen to match the emotion of the moment.
That's such a subtle thing, but it makes a big difference. And the good news is, it's fixable. Zara said it's not about changing how you pronounce words. It's about letting your voice reflect the meaning of your sentences. Now, let's contrast this with the impressive version of the same answer. Zara demonstrated what it might sound like if someone tried to use overly complex language to describe the same trip. I would like to elucidate a memorable sojourn I embarked upon to the picturesque valley of Hunza. I mean, come on.
It sounds impressive at first, but when you really think about it, it's empty. There's no substance, no personal connection. And there's not a single conditional or perfect tense in that answer. It's all simple clauses dressed up in fancy words.
And the score? A 6. Because the examiner learns nothing about the candidate's ability to use English naturally. It's all rehearsed, and that's not what the test is measuring.
That's the trap so many candidates fall into. They think they need to impress the examiner with big words and complex sentences, but what the examiner really wants is to see how well they can communicate.
So, what's the takeaway here? If you're preparing for the IELTS speaking test, or any situation where you're being evaluated on your communication skills, focus on explaining, not impressing.
Brilliantly stated. When you focus on explaining, the grammar, the vocabulary, the fluency, they all follow naturally. And that's what leads to higher scores, not just in exams, but in life.
I couldn't agree more. So stop trying to impress. Start trying to explain. And trust that the rest will take care of itself.
Well said. Let's wrap it up here. Until next time, take care and keep communicating authentically. And oh yeah, don't forget to sign up on IELTSKaro.com and use the Speaking AI Evaluator to get an accurate report on your speaking skills according to the official marking criteria. The link is in the description.
See you next time.